What's going on? YouTube is Donnie B all day. So, different kind of video right now. You see it all over the place. People make their lists of things, and sometimes you agree, sometimes you don't. So, what I did is I put a list together of my top 10, not my favorite, because there's a couple guys in here who I just don't like, Dan Marino. My top 10 all-time NFL quarterbacks list. And we're going to go from 10 to 1. And I'm going to back up my opinion with numbers, with fact, not just who I like and who I don't like. Because if it came down to that, there'd be a couple guys in here that would not be on this list. So let's get it started. All right, so NFL quarterbacks. Who's the greatest of all time? Just top 10, not top 20, because there's a whole lot of guys that could fit into that top 20 list. There's 20 of them. So we're just doing 10. And number 10, my 10th quarterback all time. And it was hard not to say Jim Kelly or Kurt Warner. Sorry, guys. You guys were cusp. Number 10, Dan Marino. So Dan Marino was the stud of his generation in the regular season. He was a lot like Peyton Manning until Peyton Manning won one. I know he has two, but he won one. Dan Marino was the first quarterback to ever throw for 5,000 yards in a season. That's pretty freaking impressive. He had 420 touchdowns. He had 4,967 completions. He was a league MVP. He made it to a Super Bowl, lost to the Niners. Joe Montana. He was in 9 Pro Bowls. So the guy did very well for himself on the field. He was just not a great winner when it came to playoffs. He was a regular season guy, and that's about it. So let's move on up. Number 9, my 9th best, and this guy I love. This guy hated the team he played on. As much as I love the Houston Texans, but I hated the Houston Oilers. It's crazy how it works like that. But number 9, Warren Moon. Awesome. This dude was a hot shot. And the sad part about Warren Moon is you can only count half his career, and I'll tell you why. He was, first of all, he's the first undrafted player to go in the Hall of Fame. The first undrafted guy. So this guy never got picked up by the NFL when they were drafting, and he still made the Hall of Fame. That's awesome. So here's the deal. He played in the CFL, right? He was in Canada. And while in Canada with the CFL, he won five Grey Cups. That's huge, right? So after all that time in Canada, where, I mean, you think about it, if you're winning 5 Grey Cups, you're there for at least 5 seasons. He then comes to the NFL and gets himself into 9 Pro Bowls. The guy is top 20. I think he's top 15 of yards, touchdowns, attempts, completions. If you were to combine Warren Moon's CFL and NFL statistics, he would only be second, I believe, to Tom Brady if you added all of them. And he's the first black QB in the Hall of Fame. Kudos to Warren Moon. Now here's a guy who I don't like at number 8, Brett Favre. And everybody, oh, Brett Favre, how do you not like Brett Favre? Brett Favre was amazing. The guy, he was the gunslinger. He was all over the place. I'm losing my statistics. I need those numbers up there for in the middle of my talking. So eventually they're going to come back to me because, you know, you hit the buttons all the time and it just stays, okay, here we go. So Brett Favre, let's see, we had 321 consecutive starts. That's near impossible to do. That's amazing, all right? He had 508 TDs, but he had 1 Super Bowl. The thing that was most impressive to me was he got 3 consecutive MVPs. That's really hard to do. Getting 3 is hard to do by itself, but getting 3 consecutive, that's pretty tough. Here's the thing with Brett Favre. Why is he so far down on the list if he's that great? The guy was the gunslinger because he would run around like crazy and break plays and make bad things happen. If he actually used his blockers and had more cojones inside the pocket, then he wouldn't be the NFL's all-time most ever interception throwing quarterback. That's right. Brett Favre threw more interceptions than any quarterback in history. That's why he's where he is. Where the next guy is right above him, 10, 9, 8, number 7. Good thing I remembered. Troy Aikman. A lot of people would have him farther down the list, but Troy Aikman was accurate. I'm talking accurate. He was one of the most accurate quarterbacks in history. This guy, he ran a dynasty with the Cowboys. He won 3 Super Bowls in 4 years. He had 32,000 plus yards, 165 touchdowns. And here's the thing. Everything he did, he only did in 12 seasons because concussions took him out of the game. So in 12 seasons, that's pretty good. And speaking of a low amount of seasons to a high amount of output in a Cowboys organization, you have my next guy at number 6, who, for me personally, I would have this guy at number 3 or whatever, 4, because I love him. I'm a huge fan. Roger Staubach, Heisman winner. This guy wins the Heisman as a freshman in college, and then instead of going to the NFL right away, instead of joining the NFL and getting in and getting some playtime, this dude manned the hell up. He went 4 years into the military, served a complete term, and then he didn't get his first NFL start until he was 29 years old. 29! Right? He started at 29. So what does he do from 29 years old and on? After starting at 29, the guy goes to 5 Super Bowls, winning 5 of them. He was a league MVP and a Super Bowl MVP. He didn't get his first start in the NFL until 29 years old. Bam. Roger the Dodger Staubach. So next on this list, I should have known that. Number 5, Peyton Manning. And some people go, how could you have Peyton Manning at number 5? Well, because he's only number 5. Here's the thing with Peyton Manning. Let's see. He was a 5-time MVP. That's fantastic. 539 touchdowns. That's fantastic. 14 Pro Bowls. That's fantastic. 2 Super Bowls. That's mostly fantastic. The first Super Bowl he won, he won that Super Bowl. That was Peyton Manning's Super Bowl. But the next time he went to a Super Bowl, he pretty much didn't play the whole season. Brock Osweiler did. Brock Osweiler got that same team all the way to the Super Bowl, and then Peyton Manning played in it. And he didn't just play in it, he was horrible. It was the Panthers game. And between Peyton Manning and Cam Newton, it was the single worst offensive Super Bowl showing in history. They were awful. The defenses played. The defenses won. It was the Denver defense that beat the Carolina defense. And that is it. Peyton Manning did not win 2 Super Bowls. He just has 2 Super Bowl rings. So now we move on to the nitty gritty. Number 4. And some people will have this guy up higher on the list, and I would love him higher on the list just because I'm a huge fan, but there's only so many spots once you get to here. John Elway. John freaking Elway. 5 Super Bowl appearances. He was top 5 all-time in completions, attempts, yards, touchdowns. He had 14 playoff wins, which, I mean, Tom Brady had 30, so it doesn't sound like a lot, but 14 playoff wins is a lot of playoff wins. That's really, really good. He had a 641 win percentage, right, in the playoffs. A 641 win percentage. That's fantastic. The problem is 3 of those losses happened in the Super Bowl, but that meant there's still 2 wins. And not only did John Elway win 2 Super Bowl rings and earn the hell out of them, but I think he had like 4 rushing touchdowns too in the Super Bowls. But he did it his final 2 seasons in the league. When he was old and decrepit, John Elway, he won 2 freaking Super Bowls to close out his career. That is freaking awesome. Gotta love John Elway. He was the man. So number 3, greatest quarterback of all time, and this guy is the most underrated quarterback when you're talking about top 10, because you always see this guy at 5 and after. No idea why, because the stats back him up. This is the only quarterback, the Super Bowl winning quarterback, who is more accurate than Troy Aikman. This is Drew freaking Brees. Drew Brees has 6,586 completions. He has, and that's the most. That's a record. The record in the NFL. Also record in the NFL. He's got 74,437 passing yards on point. Guy has 420 touchdowns. He's a 12-time Pro Bowler. He was the Walter Payton Man of the Year. He's got a Super Bowl win, obviously, if he was a Super Bowl MVP. And check this out. The only guy to have more than one, and he didn't just get more than one, he got 5 5,000-yard passing seasons. What? Yeah, 5 5,000-yard passing seasons. The guy in freaking sane passer, Drew Brees, you're the man. Number 2 on the list, Joe freaking Montana. Now, there was the whole Brady Montana thing, and Montana won 4 Super Bowls in 4 tries. Yeah, but he only got there 4 times. And let's go over the good first. Let's go over the good with Joe Montana, because there's plenty of it. This guy's got 4 Super Bowls. He's got 3 MVPs. He's got 122 Super Bowl passes without a pick. That is phenomenal. His Super Bowl quarterback rating is 127.8. Just in the 4 Super Bowls. That's what that is. He has 31 come from behind victories. He's got 11 playoff years. So think about it. He's only won he's gone to the playoff in 11 different seasons, but he got the conference championships, just 4 out of those 11. That's still pretty damn good. But here's the thing. Here's where Joe Montana can't be compared with Brady when it comes to playoffs and all-time record. Twice in his career, Joe Montana had a 42 or under quarterback rating in the playoffs. Ooh, 42 was 1 and 34.2 quarterback rating in a playoff game. That is awful. So this guy, he in 1987, his postseason, let's get that back. His postseason in 1987, check this out: 46 for 88, 168 yards, 0 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. His one and dones are, a list, a compiled list. Brady doesn't have that list. Completely different. Brady doesn't have a 0 TD, 4 interception game in the playoffs. And nowhere near a 34.2 rating in the playoffs. That's bad. But Joe Montana won 4 Super Bowls, and he was amazing. The thing with Montana, though, is this, too. He played with a Hall of Fame cast on both sides of the ball. This was prior to the NFL changing salary cap restrictions and all that. The salary cap era was designed to make sure there was no more teams that can do, well, what the Patriots have done in the last 18 years. So for Joe Montana to lose that much in the playoffs with the cast that he had, you cannot compare this guy to the number one, Tom freaking Brady. And here's the crazy thing with Tom Brady, right? This guy has been to the Super Bowl 9 times. That's staggering just to say it. 9 times he went to the Super Bowl. This guy has only played 17 seasons. All right, do the math. 9 plus 9 is 18. That means more than half of your time in the league, you have gone to the Super Bowl, right? And he has won 6 freaking Super Bowl rings. That's that many. 6 is insane. He's the only person to have 6 Super Bowl rings outside of Bill Belichick, who has 8, I believe. That is nuts. That is nuts. When you're talking about total yards, playoffs, and regular season, check this number out, man. Total yards, 81,693 total yards. How about total touchdowns? 590. The guy's got 44 game-winning drives. He's got 40 playoff appearances, 40 playoff games. His wins, he has 30 playoff wins. He has more playoff wins than any other quarterback has playoff appearances. Are you insane? Are you kidding? It's just crazy. So here's the thing. Tom Brady and Drew Brees are both still in the league. Every single time they step on the field and throw a ball, they're setting new records every single time. The most records, NFL record holders, come between Brady and Brees. They are ruling everything, controlling everything. These guys own the NFL. If Drew Brees had more Super Bowls, he would be above Montana. People don't realize how good Drew Brees is. But that's it. That's my top 10, man. Tom Brady, Joe Montana, Drew Brees, John Elway, Peyton Manning, Roger Staubach, Troy Aikman, Brett Favre, Warren Moon, and Dan Marino. That's it, man. The top 10. The numbers seal the deal. The numbers speak for themselves. That's it, man. So now that I talked about that and it's way too early for football season to start, that's all I'm going to be thinking about now. Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for egging me on for this kind of stuff. I'm Donnie P all day. Until next video.
Starbuck won 2 rings, not 5 rings. What was I thinking? I misspoke. Now some trolls are going to go, Starbuck didn't win 5 rings. He only won 2 rings. My bad.